The 19th of August, 1942. The beach at Dieppe, France. What started as a daring raid turned into one of the bloodiest days in Canadian military history. Over 900 soldiers were killed or captured in just 9 hours. But one squadron of fighter pilots changed everything. This is their story. Squadron leader Frank "Ghost" Morrison commanded 12 Spitfire pilots. They were supposed to fly air cover for the raid. Simple job: get in, protect the troops, get out. But Morrison saw something the generals didn't. A German fighter base just 5 miles inland. Frank Morrison was 26 years old, born in Calgary. He'd already shot down 8 German fighters. His nickname came from how he appeared and disappeared, like a ghost. Deadly, unpredictable, impossible to catch. But Morrison's commanding officer, Air Vice Marshal Trafford Leigh Mallory, had different orders. Protect the beach, stay low, don't go inland, follow protocol. Morrison listened. Then he ignored it. At 4:47 a.m., 12 Spitfires roared down the runway. Ghost Squadron was airborne. Their mission: air cover over Dieppe. Their real mission: change history. 30 minutes later, they arrived over Dieppe. Below them, chaos. Canadian soldiers charging the beach. German gunfire tearing through their ranks. The raid was falling apart faster than anyone expected. German Messerschmitt fighters were already in the air. At least 30 of them, climbing toward Ghost Squadron. Morrison made a split-second decision that would define the entire raid. Ghost Squadron, this is Ghost Leader. We're going inland. Full throttle, orders be damned. Follow me. Morrison banked hard toward the German airfield at Saint-Aubin. His wingman, 22-year-old Tommy Pierce, stayed glued to his wing. They flew at treetop level, 350 miles per hour. One mistake meant crashing into a telephone pole. One split second of delay meant getting shot down. Frank Morrison didn't hesitate. The German airfield appeared. 50 German aircraft parked in neat rows. 2 Focke-Wulf fighters were just taking off, wheels barely leaving the ground. Perfect timing. Morrison opened fire. Tommy Pierce's Spitfire screamed down on the second climbing fighter. 2 quick bursts. The Focke-Wulf twisted and fell like a broken toy. 2 aircraft destroyed before they could climb to altitude. Ghost Squadron wasn't following orders. They were rewriting them. Now came the brutal part. Frank and Tommy strafed the airfield. 30 seconds of pure machine gun fire. Fuel trucks erupted. Aircraft exploded. But more importantly, German fighters that were grounded suddenly couldn't be used. They were trapped. Alarms were screaming across the German base. Anti-aircraft guns opened fire. Morrison and Pierce climbed hard, pushing their Spitfires to the limit. Behind them, the airfield burned. They headed back toward Dieppe. But Ghost Squadron's real battle was just beginning. As they approached the coast, they spotted 25 German fighters climbing toward them, outnumbered 2-1. Most pilots would have run. Frank Morrison attacked. The first German fighter dove on Morrison. He saw it coming, hard left turn. The German overshot. Morrison's guns answered. One burst. The Messerschmitt's canopy exploded. The German pilot would never eject. Ghost Squadron's third kill. But Morrison was trapped. 3 Messerschmitts converged on his 6 o'clock position. Guns blazing. Bullets tore through his wing. His oil temperature spiked. Engine damage. Frank Morrison was hit. Most pilots would have bailed out. Morrison dove toward the water. Lower altitude meant the Spitfire's superior maneuverability would matter more. The heavier Messerschmitts couldn't follow his moves. He turned hard left directly into a German formation. They couldn't fire without hitting each other. In the chaos, Frank's guns tracked one fighter. Quick burst. Another German dropped into the sea. His 4th kill, but his engine was dying. Tommy Pierce, who'd been engaged with 2 other fighters, saw Morrison's damaged plane. He broke off his own combat and dove at the fighters pursuing Frank. Tommy's guns roared. One German exploded. The other panicked and fled toward France. Ghost Leader, your oil temp is critical. Tommy radioed. I know, Frank replied. Getting us home. But his engine was seizing. Frank had maybe 5 minutes of flight time left. The English coast was still 8 minutes away. Tommy moved closer. You are going in, aren't you? No choice, Frank said. When I hit the water, fly back. Tell them what we found. That airfield is crippled. German fighters won't be taking off for days. Frank cut the engine. The propeller stopped spinning. He descended toward the channel at a steep angle. Tommy watched helplessly as his friend dove toward the water. This was it. Ghost Squadron's leader was going down. At 50 feet, Frank leveled the wings. The Spitfire's belly kissed the water. The impact was violent. The aircraft cartwheeled. Water engulfed the cockpit. For 3 seconds, nothing. Then Frank's head broke the surface. He gasped for air, still in his life vest. He was alive. Battered. Bleeding, but alive. Tommy pressed his radio transmit button. Ghost Leader is in the water. Repeat. Ghost Leader is in the water, but alive, requesting immediate rescue. He orbited above, refusing to leave, staying until help arrived. 18 minutes later, a Royal Navy motor launch pulled Frank from the water. He was rushed to hospital with internal injuries, a fractured rib, and severe burns. But he was breathing. Meanwhile, Tommy delivered the real news back at base. Tommy landed and immediately reported to the squadron commander, "We destroyed the German airfield. At least 30 aircraft destroyed or damaged. The base is crippled. They won't launch fighters for days." The commander's face went pale. News of Ghost Squadron's unauthorized mission spread through the RAF like wildfire. Some officers wanted Morrison court-martialed for ignoring orders. Others understood what he'd done. By preventing German fighters from reaching Dieppe, Ghost Squadron had allowed more Allied soldiers to escape. Those unauthorized orders had saved lives. Ghost Squadron flew 237 combat missions during World War II. They were credited with 89 confirmed German aircraft destroyed. The raid at Dieppe cost 907 Canadian soldiers their lives. It was a strategic failure, but Ghost Squadron's unauthorized action meant those soldiers weren't hunted by German fighters while they retreated. Frank Morrison returned to combat after his recovery. In total, he claimed 18 enemy aircraft destroyed. He became one of Canada's greatest fighter aces. But for 30 years after the war, Ghost Squadron's story was buried in classified files. In 1973, researchers discovered the Dieppe raid files. Military historians realized what Ghost Squadron had accomplished. Their unauthorized mission had fundamentally altered the battle's outcome. The rules that had meant to protect soldiers had almost cost them everything. Tommy Pierce survived the war. He went on to become an Air Force instructor, training the next generation of pilots in the same aggressive tactics he and Morrison had pioneered. He never forgot that morning over Dieppe. Frank Morrison lived until 1978. He never spoke much about Dieppe, but toward the end of his life he was asked why he disobeyed orders. His answer was simple. "I saw the problem. I had the solution. The rules didn't matter. Saving lives mattered." Ghost Squadron's story was finally made public in 1982. It became mandatory study at the Royal Military College. A case study in tactical brilliance. A lesson that sometimes the best leaders break the rules to save lives. The Dieppe raid remains controversial. Military historians still debate whether it should have happened at all. But on one point, they all agree, without Ghost Squadron's disobedience, the casualty count would have been exponentially higher. One man, one decision, changed the course of history. Today, every pilot in the RAF learns about Ghost Squadron, about Frank Morrison, about Tommy Pierce, about the 12 fighter pilots who changed history in 9 hours. They learn that courage sometimes means breaking the rules, that leadership means trusting your judgment, and that one person's decision to act can save thousands of lives. This is their legacy. This is Ghost Squadron, the fighters who proved that sometimes the greatest acts of heroism aren't written in official orders. They're written in the hearts of men who see the right thing to do and do it, no matter the cost, no matter the consequences. If you want to learn more about this incredible moment in military history, we've included detailed profiles of the key players and the aircraft they flew. Ghost Squadron inspired a generation of leaders who understood that true leadership means making the hard choices, the choices that others won't make.